Hi, this is Majinoni, and um, here's another episode of Know Your Marvel History. And this is the death of Captain Jean DeWolf. Now, you're probably asking yourself, why is this an important event in Spider-Man history, considering it's just a police captain getting killed? Well, this is the springboard for Venom. Basically what happened is, the events in the story, you have this guy, the Sin Eater, and he was running around killing certain public officials, I guess you can say, or public people. And what happened was Eddie Brock interviewed somebody who confessed to be the Sin Eater. Unfortunately for Eddie, this wasn't the true Sin Eater, and when Spider-Man uncovered who the person was, it basically disgraced Brock, and he lost his job from the Daily Globe. From there, that's eventually events led out of his control, and he eventually bonded with the symbiote, and then created the character Venom. So that's why this story is super important, because without this, you would not have one of Spider-Man's most popular villains. Now, the death of Jean DeWolf is actually an amazing story, and I would highly recommend buying this. The only thing I'm afraid of is this version might be out of print, but hopefully there might be another version floating around that I'm not aware of, or they'll reprint it, because this is really storytelling at its finest. Originally, this is written by Peter David, which, if you remember, Peter David's responsible for classic Hulk stories, and he's currently writing X Factor. Yeah, X Factor. And Peter David's actually been responsible for a good chunk of Marvel history in terms of fantastic stories. Now, for those of you who don't know, Jean DeWolf, she basically was a captain who, I guess you can say, was, I don't know, she kind of was like, she loved Spider-Man, but she was tough on Spider-Man. And the story arc just really started with a bang, because you get a brief introduction of who she is, and then the next thing you know, she's dead, type thing. And this story really held nothing back. You had Spider-Man going on a rampage trying to find out who the Sin Eater was. Daredevil got involved because the Sin Eater killed a judge that happened to be a friend of his. And the best thing about this thing, which I don't know if you would see it in today's comic environment, is the Sin Eater had a shotgun, and he shot people at close range and killed them outright. I mean, there wasn't any, once he had you in your sights, you were pretty much a goner type thing. And what was kind of entertaining at the same time was you had, Spider-Man and Daredevil both tracking down who the Sin Eater was. Eventually they go to the Kingpin. Daredevil used the front door, while Spider-Man took out the goons and all that other nonsense. So you had a totally different approach as to how they worked their case. Also, eventually, when the Sin Eater is caught, you have Spider-Man, who's completely consumed by rage because the Sin Eater took his friend. And then you had Daredevil, who was basically going, no, we have to let the law take its course. We're not going to, kill him. And if you look at today, it almost is different, because, Spider-Man now has the philosophy of no one dies. And Daredevil, especially, going, if you forget the Shadowland part, Daredevil was a little bit more darker of a character. So you had an interesting contrast of, where they were and where they are today. Another thing I thought was really funny is the stereotypes, because what they did is they threw out a couple, potential people who could have been the Sin Eater, but obviously weren't. One of them was this Reverend guy, and he was stirring some trouble because of situations that he was involved in earlier, that was outside the comics. And you see him watching himself on TV talking about the Sin Eater, and he's got himself a Colt 45. It doesn't say Colt 45, but when you see a CO something that looks like an L and a 4, that's Colt 45. And all you got to do is just go to YouTube, type in Colt 45 Billy D. Williams, and you know exactly where they got this guy from. And so I thought that part was kind of funny. You also had this weird thing going on here with this guy who's dressed as Santa Claus knocking on kids' windows, and you're thinking, oh man, this guy's a pedophile, but this was something entirely different. Overall, like, this was a fantastic story. It's I really can't say enough about this in terms of praise, because they really, unfortunately, they don't write stories like this any longer. Nowadays they're more concerned about how many issues can we make this, how many spin-offs, all this other nonsense. And this is pretty much was the core to this was 4 issues, and Peter Parker, and you didn't have a Daredevil 3-issue miniseries, none of that stuff. It all took place in here. And it was, like I said, it was a really good, solid story. Now, the Eddie Brock storyline, that took place outside of this trade, so you'll have to hunt that part down separately. But unfortunately, I don't know what issues they were. But that's something, that was just a little bit of background information concerning Eddie Brock. Now, if you do want to track it down, like the original issues, these were originally in Peter Parker, The Spectacular Spider-Man 107 through 110. And so it was only, like I said, this was only a 4-issue miniseries. And if you're a fan of Spider-Man, or just a fan of good storytelling, I would highly recommend picking this thing up, because this is, like I said, this is a key pivotal moment in the history of Spider-Man, a key moment of time in Marvel history. Like I said, you had a guy he killed, and he killed brutally with a shotgun, and nothing like this has ever been done, since then. If you have any comments or questions, let me know. Rate the video up or down, let me know what you think. I'll have more reviews up later. Tomorrow is New Comic Book Day, so I'll have my full list. And until next time.